Disclaimer! The following episode contains spoilers for Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7. Don't go crying to Mum if we spoil it for you. You've been warned. Welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. And this week, something Star Wars related that's good. I needed this. Cue the music. Hello there, Capers, and as I said, welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. My name is Scott James Merridew, and this is a show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and I'm joined each week by a very special different guest. My guest today was on our last Jedi review many moons ago, over 100 episodes in fact. Give it up, Capers, for Colin Coughtrey!
Hiya, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Colin. How are you doing?
Totally awesome and totally stoked from watching this last season of Clone Wars.
So stoked, in fact, that a jaunty tune emanates from you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out where that came from. I apologise for that. I've got too many things buzzing around.
I imagine like a happy little elf beside you, sitting on a toadstool playing his flute. Anyway.
Yeah, it's some kind of droid.
Oh god, yeah. Oh, that would be. Oh, imagine if like the droid just communicated in music. Oh, and now I'm thinking of that weird robot from the Gem and the Holograms remake. No, fuck you, Synergy. What even this point of view? What of any of this? Anyway. In the cartoon, you were like a giant supercomputer that made holograms. What are you now? Some BB-8 ripoff. Which brings us nicely back to Star Wars. Now, Colin.
Yes.
You've been part of the Star Wars Conversations podcast for a while now, but now that's become something a little bit different, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's evolved slightly. We've gone to the magical world of YouTube as well, and it's sort of regenerated into old Chums Geek Chat, which is we talk about Star Wars pretty much every week and have a little Star Wars conversation, but we've also broadened it out because, let's face it, there's a lot of other stuff to talk about, and myself and Jay, my co-host, have got a lot of stuff we want to vent about and talk about. Similar to you guys.
Imagine that. I mean, there's not really much going on these days that's worth talking about. You know, conversation on all things pop culture has kind of dried up, hasn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but definitely there's been some. The love for some of the newer stuff of Star Wars has been difficult to build up and really get excited about, and so we end up just talking about the same things again and again. So it's useful to be able to broaden the subject a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, there'll be a link in the show notes, Capers. Go and check them out. Podcapers seal of approval. You know the drill. But thankfully, there's there's two main Star Wars things I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. One of which is unequivocally good. The latest season, indeed the last season of the Clone Wars TV series. And something we're going to talk about first, get it out of the way. Star Wars Battlefront 2. No, not that one.
Not the good one.
I mean, okay, so here's the thing. A lot of people have been saying now that after countless updates and retoolings and reworkings of EA/DICE's Star Wars Battlefront 2, that the game is now finally good. I am of the opinion that the game is good, but if it takes you 3 cocking years after launch to get it to that point, that's not really good, actually.
I'm actually an apologist for this game. I actually think it is pretty good fun, and there's a lot of content to it, and I think people forget how many different modes there are in it and how many different little games, and I completely forget.
Unless you're not online.
Yes, well, that is
like me.
Point. Yeah, that is fair. But they again, it has taken them 3 years, but over the 3 years, they have added a lot of offline content, and now you can almost actually have a decent game on your own. But the improvements they put in.
That's the thing.
Sorry, carry on.
Well, that's the thing. See, now it's official with this latest update. Which would include, admittedly, a bunch of new content. And there have been free updates, which you just know made the EA executives just sort of grimace internally, giving them ulcers. But with this latest update, they have officially announced that they are not providing any more service updates. They are not, no more content expansions, no more updates, no more new heroes or maps or game modes or anything like that. This is it. It's taken 3 years, but this is the game. And if this was the game we had gotten at launch, I'd be right there with you saying, oh, yeah, it's brilliant. Despite the schmoot schmoxes controversy. But I don't want to talk about it because A, it's boring. B, as much as it is important to talk about, everyone has said everything that could possibly be said about loot boxes. And C, I'd rather just focus okay, so this is the game we got now. And you are right. It is fun. I've been playing it actually quite a bit recently, and it's an awful lot of fun. But sometimes the game likes to remind you of something that makes it not fun. So you're there, you're playing the game, you have a lot of fun. Oh, this is awesome. I'm on Scarif, I'm storming the beaches and stuff. This is so cool. And then the game reminds you hey, remember this thing that isn't fun? I'd rather not. Well, tough shit, you're gonna. And because here's the thing. So there's a bunch of game modes for offline. There is, arcade mode, and there's instant action, which is now comprised into 3 modes. Supremacy, which is fun. And then there's 2 modes called attack and defend, whereas basically there is one big map, and you, the player, along with your team, have to capture all the control points, well, at least some of the control points, in order to advance further and further. And there's an attacker and defender. Defender tries to repel the attackers, and so on and so forth. You get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Have you played this game mode?
Yeah, and to be honest, it's the most similar to the original Battlefront 2, where it was very much, capture the base, isn't it? Which sort of makes you think about what was great about the original one. And unfortunately, where they're really lacking is the ability to go from vehicle to ground assault to fly to somewhere else, which you could get in the original one. Where this one, you're sort of locked in a box, basically. But I found
it's not the biggest problem for me, though. The biggest problem for me is even when the enemy AI is set on rookie difficulty, it's the hardest fucking thing in the world. This game mode. And it's so inconsistent with how hard it is. I mean, it's insane. Sometimes capturing control points is piss easy. I just run over to the control point, okay, I'm monitoring my 6. Oh god, I'm all alone. All my other teammates went to the other control point. Oh shit. Where are the enemies? Where are the enemies coming? Oh, there's none. I'm there. There's alone. Hello, stormtroopers. Is any of you here? No, just me. Okay, I'm just a little weird. Alien soldier guy just sitting on my control. Oh, we got it? We got the control point? Cool. All right. Well, this whole map should be a breeze. Then let's go to the next control point. Oh my god! Oh my god! They're everywhere. They're all here. They went to the other control point. They're all here. There's hundreds of them, and they never stop. They never stop, Colin. And it feels.
I mean, the difference is it's. Sorry, carry on.
That's it. That's all I gotta say. Is it's sometimes you meet no enemies, and other times the fucking gates of Valhalla open, and all the forces of Odin swarm towards you. And then the game has a timer when you've got to capture the control points within a certain amount of time, and if you are on a control point when the timer goes out, you go into overtime, meaning if you leave that control point without having captured it, then you fail. Okay, That's a pretty neat mechanic. Makes it somewhat balanced. But then you're just this guy with admittedly your teammates, which are AI, so therefore about as useful as a chocolate teapot, just defending yourself against waves. And if it was Onslaught or something, if it was just waves of survival, waves and waves of bad guys are coming at you and see how long you can last, then I'd be fine with it. But I mean, the Geonosis map. I mean, I love the Geonosis map, the way everything's laid out, and it's so cool and so awesome. But at the end of it, you only have one control point left to get, which so sounds hard. Easy, but that's where the enemies go. And I'm fine with it being challenging. What I'm not fine is playing a heavy, because the only class you can really play at that point is a heavy. If you pick specialist, your ass is grass. And then suddenly being surrounded by enemies on all sides, and it's all but impossible to actually attack it. And there's similar problems with defending, and it just feels broken.
I think it really makes a difference depending on which faction you're playing. Definitely, I think some of the factions are more powerful than the others. But I totally get what you're saying about those last command, because it goes from 3 command posts you're protecting at once to 2 to 1, and when you get to 1, it's always that is where you win or lose the game, because it's how well you can either storm that one or defend it. And as you say, everyone's focused on it, so it is literally a kill box. If you're particularly, I don't know if you played the Jabba's Palace map, where at the end you're just outside of the palace, and that last bit there, trying to get that bit, if you're on the attack side, it's really impossible, because you're just being shot at, because there's only one route to get to the command post, so you're just being completely wiped out every time you come towards it.
I mean, what is this? Spec Ops: The Line? Why am I being reminded about the futility of warfare and the insurmountable odds in fucking Star Wars? Again, on rookie difficulty. If this was on hardcore mode or hard difficulty, whatever, I would not be complaining, because, like, what were you expecting? There'd be piss easy? No! It's hard difficulty. But when it's on rookie, I play this game for fun. I do it to relax, and God knows I need that right now. So and it is a fun mode, the way it's structured and everything, and the tactics you can use, it is fun. It's just that last bit, and that's if you're attacking. If you're defending, well, forget about it. Sometimes I've had just like hordes, like the number of, like, I feel like Leonidas's 300 Spartan warriors, except there's not 300 of them, there's 3 of us, and there's still the same amount of Persians. And it's just like, why? I don't care if Gerard Butler's on our side. That's not enough. But you could argue that that's just like, okay, it's the last update they made. They don't really care. But then they have the gall, the unmitigated arrogance to introduce a new skin for Darth Maul. It's awesome. It's the clothing he had, like the outfit he had in Star Wars Rebels when he was really old and stuff. Like, that's really cool. That's really interesting. You'll need to unlock a milestone in order to get the outfit. Well, that's fair enough. At least it's not asking straight up for money. It's getting it through gameplay. Maybe you're learning, EA. Maybe you're finally getting it. You need to get some kills in order to unlock the skin. Well, that's fine. So what, like 100 kills or something? Well, that'll take a bit of time. But I think 5,000 kills? 5,000 kills on online mode. 5,000. Are you high? No! Who has the time to devote just to playing one character, presumably in a limited amount of game modes? Like, again, you can't get it offline. You can't.
Yeah.
And you have to kill 5,000 people. Like, by the end of that, let's assume you have the spare time. Admittedly, quite a few people do nowadays. We're not going to talk about it. Have the time to play Battlefront that much. And let's assume you have that. Let's assume you're fine going online. Let's say you somehow able to rank up enough battle points in-game to unlock Darth Maul. And let's say you, by a fraction of a second, managed to be the one person on the game to be able to get Darth Maul, because you can't have one person running around as Darth Maul, because that would just be insane. And let's say you're able to do this with enough regularity that you are able to get 5,000 kills. By the end of that, you would never want to play Darth Maul again. You'd be sick of him.
I think it really is ruining the game as well, because anyone playing online now on the heroes and villains modes, you go into the lobby to try and get a game, and of course, if you can't get Darth Maul, then people are just quitting out of the game. So you just end up in a really unbalanced game where there's only 3 players on your side if you're on the dark side, because it's just, like I say, people are only trying to play it to get the Darth Maul skin, which is mad. Just got to let these things go. Well, and it doesn't make sense either, because they also released 3 other skins at the same time, and they were all completely free with no milestones to do. It's just like, why just do it for Darth Maul?
So there's there's the Rey skin as well,
Yeah.
which is like, so you know how you unlock the Rey skin? You have to go to online to the Takodana map to Maz's castle, and then you have to go and basically like a little scavenger hunt throughout the castle around the map to unlock various things until a little basement door opens. You go in there, and that's how you unlock the skin. And it's weird and kind of roundabout, and it means that you're not focusing on the actual objective of the online objective. You're not going around killing enemies. You're not going around stopping the First Order. No, you're tooling around Maz's castle, jumping on flagpoles and shit. But even then, it's kind of fun. It's like, oh, it's a reference, and oh, I get it. And also, if you unlock that in the map, everyone else on the map also unlocks it. So you're also doing everyone else a favor by giving them a free skin. So that's actually kind of cool. And that's how Rey gets the exact same costume that was part of this latest update with the yellow lightsaber. One of the big problems, well, I say one of the big problems, one of the many, 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 many problems I had with the Return of Sky, whatever the fuck it was called, not the last, Rise of Skywalker, the names sort of blur together after a while, was that we saw Rey at the end with the yellow lightsaber, but we never actually saw her use it. Now we can use it in Star Wars Battlefront, and that's cool. And this new version of Rey's skin has the exact same skin, but with the hood up. Well, that's great. If it was raining, then that would be just fan-fucking-tastic. And it's just like, God. And it feels... The Maul skin in particular just feels kind of like a last fuck you from EA. Like, oh God, you held us to account for our greedy business practices. Oh, you proved once for all that people prefer single-player story-focused video games that are set at a reasonable price with no microtransactions, loot boxes, and unnecessary DLC over stuff that is so unconsumer friendly, it's almost Kafka-esque. Like, oh, well, in that case, we gave you Darth Maul skin, exactly what you want, but it's going to be nigh impossible, or at least very, very difficult for you to get. Fuck you. We hate our own players and indeed our employers because we're EA and we're basically the dark side in IRL.
Well, the only positive thing I will say is the online co-op mode is really good fun because there's only 4 of you in a team. You get to actually have a chance to play as the hero characters, and particularly if you're playing with friends, a group of 4 of you can have a really great game and really enjoy it. So I will say the online experience has massively improved, but
yeah.
I'll be the ray of light in your in your darkness there.
I choose not to interpret that as a pun and just move on. I mean, I have played a few co-op modes online. I got a free PlayStation Plus trial, as I do once every while, so I was able to go online briefly.
Right.
And there is something satisfying about holding off waves of enemies on these small maps, but again, it feels like I'm being railroaded into playing the heavy, which I do like playing. I like playing like big tanky gunners, but it's all the same time like, hey, maybe I want to be an officer. Okay, cool. Ooh, he's a Duros. Oh, I love the Duros. He's cool. He's got a blaster pistol. He's like a support class. He's awesome, and he's dead. He is dead. He's so dead. But at least we can comfort ourselves with, the excellent and, dare I say it, long single-player story campaign. I'm sure you've talked about this on your podcast, but I want to talk about this briefly because I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. The story campaign, the single-player story campaign in Battlefront 2 is excellent.
Yes, it is. Really
fucking
good.
short.
It's a great story. It's a great story.
And it's got such great acting, and it's got good writing and good performances, and the mocap and everything looks great. And talking of the Duros officer, there's another Duros in that campaign called Shreve, I can't remember his name, but he's my favorite character. He's awesome, and he's got like he's like sarcastic with the little like droid companion the main character has, and with Lando Calrissian, and he's just a lot of fun. These characters have such personality, and they go on such an interesting adventure. It's just like you get it done in an hour and a half, if even that. And and it takes an hour and a half for the main character, this super pro Empire, Black Ops squadron leader, to realize, oh, the Empire was bad. And they do it in the most hilarious way possible. It's the movie. It feels like a movie sometimes. The campaign starts. The first level doesn't really start, but the second level, the main first act of the story starts with the second Death Star getting blown up. And she's like, oh no, our super secret super weapon that was going to lay waste to the rebels has been destroyed. Oh no. Then it's like 5 minutes later, it's like, wait, the Empire is going to use a super secret super weapon to destroy a planet? Well, I'm not okay with that. What do you think the Death Star did? Shoot rainbows at people? What do you think? Oh, God. It's just like, I feel like if they stretched it out by even just another hour, they could make it into a really compelling story. And at this point, it's just like a skeleton of a compelling story. It's the ghost of a compelling story. Like, there's something there, but it's just not quite substantive enough. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, I agree with the point. There was also a novel that came out, which was set before the events of the game, which gave a bit more background on her squadron, the Inferno Squadron, and it dealt with a lot more of that because that was set around the Battle of Yavin and the destruction of the first Death Star, and then they were sort of starting to think, like, oh, it's not just a deterrent, it actually is a weapon, and things like that. So,
a deterrent?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the perfect deterrent for our intergalactic war. A giant space station that can literally destroy a planet. Like, I mean, yeah, but you really think, hey, this thing can destroy planets. I see only one use for this, a stern warning. Anyway, maybe this is just the way you describe it. Well, I haven't read that book. There's too many Star Wars books, but anyway.
There is a lot. I mean,
this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about with the game reminding you that it sometimes sucks. Like, I was really getting into the story and the characters and everything, and then the game was over. It's just like, oh, well, I feel hollow. Like, I was really enjoying that and everything. And I don't know. And God, it's just I could go on.
It also
and on.
just got it ended. The first part of the story ended just as it was at an exciting point at the Battle of Jakku, and that was the bit where at the time we were all wanting to know, what happens in this period between the Battle of Jakku and then what happens in Force Awakens, and so there was this almost like promise of getting a story set in that time. And really, we didn't really get that, unfortunately. It was only with the update when you got the little adventure with her daughter that you got a little bit more on that. but yeah, that was the biggest disappointment.
And then that started to get really good again, and then that ended as well, even quicker then.
That was really short. That was extremely short.
Oh God, oh yeah, honestly, as much as I do like the story, the only thing apart from the fact that it's very short is that at the end, Aiden and not Shriv, the other guy, Del was his name. They kiss out of nowhere, and it's just like, oh, they were a thing, and I can't think of any other comparison to any other Star Wars property where people kiss right the fuck out of nowhere, and it feels weird and wrong. Oh, Rise of Skywalker. Anyway, oh God, everything comes back to that movie. God damn. And I think after all this,
hello.
Oh, you still there?
No, I lost you then, but I can hear you now.
Okay. I think at the end of all this is what we can chalk up to, as far as Disney is concerned, a lesson learned.
Well, I hope
put all your eggs in one basket and make sure that basket hasn't been called the worst company in America.
Well, let's just hope they don't get the extension of the contract when because that's the saddest thing with the end of Battlefront not being supported. The only game we've got in the works is potentially the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, and
I almost forgot. I completely forgot. But there's been an update to that as well, and a pretty big one too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that was exciting, and that was a complete surprise. That came out of nowhere. Again, it's just so random the things that EA decided to do.
I mean, I get it was for May the 4th,
Yeah.
and fair enough, but at the same time, like, no one really expected it. Like, people were very happy
Mm.
with, at least I was happy with Jedi Fallen Order, but then we get a huge expansion involving, like, new challenge modes,
Mhm.
and the ability to create your own challenge modes by, like, putting down, like, stormtroopers and shit, like, individual chess pieces for Cal Kestis to suddenly chop in half with his lightsaber, which is awesome. And on top of that, you get a red lightsaber, a couple of new lightsaber designs, and the Cal Kestis Inquisitor outfit, meaning I can now roleplay Cal as a secret Sith Inquisitor throughout the main storyline.
Which is super cool.
It's so super cool, and it's free, and it's out of nowhere, and it's like, here's the thing: they could have, especially with Jedi Fallen Order, they could have marketed that as paid DLC. They could have sold it for 10 quid or maybe 8 quid would probably be a bit closer.
Yeah.
And people said, you know what? That's fine. That's fair. That's relatively well priced. I'm cool with that. I would have bought that.
Yeah.
But because it's free, that's just it's good. It generates a lot of goodwill.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm just worried what EA is going to do with that goodwill.
Well, as long as they get this second, I mean, this is what I think they're trying to count on now is that they've really got that, and like I say, the second game of this to really keep the contract because there's no other games in the works, and so
because they cancelled them all.
Yeah, and so everything is dependent. You know, if they want to extend this contract with Lucasfilm and Disney, they've got to really make the next Fallen Order game and support for this one. You know, something where it gets everyone back on side. Otherwise, they're just going to lose it, definitely.
Yeah. So, what would you like to see from a new Fallen Order game?
I don't know. It's really. To be honest, I don't want another Fallen Order game. I enjoyed the one we've got, and I don't mind there being extensions to that. But I would rather a different story. I still want to see the 1313 game or whatever they were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
With the bounty hunters and a bit.
What might have been?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'd love to see. And I'd even be happy with a Battlefront 3, to be honest, because I think, as you said, there's so much more they could do with it. I mean, if they suddenly go back on themselves and decide they're going to support Battlefront 2, add more maps, more content, more skins, there's more planets. You know, there's so much more they could do.
They could add Ahsoka into the game.
Well, and that was the thing. That was something they were actively working on, and they just cut it off. You know, there's been some of the developers on Twitter saying that they were working on Ahsoka and Ventress. So, you know, there's so much more they could be doing just with Battlefront 2 and extend that. And like I say, I'd be happy to have paid updates as long as they actually did more updates, you know, and meaningful.
At the very least, they could give Finn more than 2 skins. Like, it is actually kind of pathetic. I mean, even Boba Fett, actually thinking about it, there's some more they could do with Boba Fett. They could have reskinned him as Jango Fett or the new Mandalorian, but no, it's just Boba Fett, and it's just like, well, that's the most popular character. You're really not going to do anything with him?
Well, even like battle damage for like the characters like Boba Fett and Phasma and people like that haven't got lots of different costumes, give them battle damage. You know, Darth Vader could have had, you know, we could have had a wicked battle damage Darth Vader or something like that. It would have been really cool, you know.
Yeah,
it doesn't take much.
And I get that involves work and time and money and effort and all that. Yeah, fine, fair enough. But here's the thing. When you look at a smaller developer like, say, I don't know, Insomniac, who listened to fan feedback and introduced free costumes for Spider-Man that were way out there and really interesting, including the Sam Raimi outfit that they delivered for free on just like a day. Just like, hey, Spider-Man fans, Tobey Maguire outfit, here you go, just because you asked. Like, Insomniac are the best boyfriend/girlfriend you could ever want.
Well, even the Fantastic Four paper bag on the head Spider-Man costume is just amazing. That's my favourite one.
Oh, God. And it's little things like that can really endear a publisher or a developer to the fans. And I'm not saying EA hasn't done that, but it's always felt so reluctant, so half-assed, so hesitant, just like, okay, fine, I guess we'll give you this. And people are like, yeah, that's brilliant. Could you do more like that? And they're like, oh, I guess. I mean, that's the impression I got.
Yeah, I got the feeling that the people actually working on the game loved it and wanted to do more, but like I say, the bigger company was just holding it back. And like I say, the final decision to concentrate on the sequel to Battlefront, not Battlefront, the other game. Is it Battlefront? I don't know. The other game, Battlefield, that's it, which is what they've all been pulled off to work on instead of doing more Battlefront 2. So it's it's a sad day for the Republic.
If only there was a Star Wars property where both the people making it and the people actually doing the voice work and stuff like that, and also just the executives behind it were all equally committed and enthusiastic about it. If only there was something like a new season of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
God. So I mean, this was so Clone Wars came to an end, season 6. When did that end? Was it
2015? Was it
2015? So 5 years ago, thereabouts. And I'll be honest with you, I was pretty satisfied with the way Clone Wars back then ended. I thought, okay, sad that it's over, but you know what? I'm fine with it. I'm good. Ahsoka's gone off to do her own thing. Yoda's learned some more things about the Force. This is a pretty solid ending. And then they brought it back, and I was just like, okay, I'm intrigued. Just don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
They did not fuck it up.
They didn't. And to me, Clone Wars, the main pull for me was always Ahsoka. It was the fact, from the movie length beginning that they started with when they introduced Ahsoka, and it blew my mind thinking, how can Anakin have had a Padawan that we've not seen, and what happened to her? And that was the big question throughout the whole time watching it. And then, even when the series finished, that was the one thing I was still like, well, I'm still not satisfied with how do we get from where she was at the end of season 6 to what happened? Where did she go? What happened to Order 66? And then obviously, David Filoni obviously loves the character that he created and managed to keep her alive.
Dave Filoni has taken it upon himself to single-handedly save this franchise.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe working with Jon Favreau on occasion. I just like this one weirdo in a silly hat just strolls in and says, "Oi, Kathleen Kennedy, move aside. I got this."
What I love about Dave Filoni is his unrelenting and unapologetic love for George Lucas. I mean, I know George Lucas went a little bit crazy occasionally, and then he had some
because
crazy
no
ideas.
one worked with him; they worked for him. Dave Filoni worked with him.
Yes, exactly, and I think this was the difference. And I think if George Lucas had not just yes men around him when he was making the prequels.
Looking at you, Rick McCallum, you're part of the problem.
Exactly. I think it could have been really strong. And I think even just watching the recent gallery on The Mandalorian, you can see that someone like Jon Favreau, if he was driving the Lucasfilm now, I think you'd have a much more collaborative and well-developed set of stories where things that would actually work and sequel films would actually connect to each other rather than just be, what should we do next and leave it for the next person to pick up kind of stuff. But going back to Clone Wars, I think, Dave Filoni, he's a hero, and I think his influence from George Lucas, and he's taken all the best things of what George Lucas has taught him, and he's created something that feels like Star Wars, 100%.
J.J. Abrams just looking on the distance, seething in anger.
I can't argue. I love J.J. and I love what he did with Force Awakens, and I like Rise of Skywalker, to be fair. I think
those movies. To be clear, those movies weren't his fault.
No,
it's just there's a difference between a director like Dave Filoni or even Jon Favreau to a certain extent, who are directors who are hired to do a job and they do it their way, and directors who are hired to do a job and they do it the way they've been told to do. And there's nothing inherently wrong with either way, and there are pros and cons to both ways. But J.J. Abrams is definitely the latter kind of director, at least with Star Wars, whereas Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are definitely the former Star Wars movies. Although, interestingly enough, Jon Favreau not very much the former when it comes to Lion King movies, but I'm not talking about that movie. Oh, no.
Let's not go there.
No. So, Clone Wars Season 7, and they have said this is the final season, this is it, this is all we're doing. Just a lovely send-off, and I love this season. It has problems.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to divide this up into arcs. This whole season is divided neatly up into three distinct arcs. The Bad Batch arc, the middle arc, and then the final arc. And so we're just going to be talking about those. We'll be talking about those in order of air date. But bear in mind, this is not the chronological order. This, in terms of Star Wars canon, these episodes don't necessarily take place in chronological order. There's a whole chronological list out there somewhere that Star Wars have released, like saying this is the official chronology, like, so you can zip around if you want to, and that's fine, but we're going to be talking them in order of release just for our own sake of sanity.
Yeah.
So we start. Now, here's the thing. The Bad Batch arc, parts of the Bad Batch arc, I believe, were released way back in 2015 or later on than that in a comic convention.
It was the celebration in Anaheim, yeah, when the big Star Wars convention, they did a screening of it in very much
rough form.
Rough form, yeah, sort of a previs sort of version of it. So, yeah.
So a lot of it we will know about already, but here's the thing. I never looked that up. I thought, well, you know, in rough form, I don't really care. I'm not going to do it. If they ever release it properly, then maybe I'll watch it. So I was going into this completely spoiler-free in terms of the Bad Batch. And the Bad Batch arc feels very much kind of like a holdover from Clone Wars, for want of a better phrase, proper. It feels like it was just a bunch of episodes in part of a long-running series. It doesn't feel very special. It doesn't feel very what I'm looking for. Kind of major consequences, at least in terms of the galactic war, maybe a few character consequences. It feels very much like, oh, this is kind of business as usual, which I thought actually was the best way to start off this season.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it definitely could have felt like it could have been from any of the seasons, and it could have come at any time. I say the only thing that grounds it in time in the timeline is obviously Echo and Rex have had that running with what's going on in their heads, and obviously the fallout from
what's
that.
In your head, in your head, order, 66, do 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 do. Anyway, it just came to me, you know, and so I think it might have been a bit disconcerting for a lot of people. They thought we were going to start with something big and epic, but actually we started with something small, and the epicness comes later. So we start on the campaign on Anaxis with Anakin, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan, Commander Cody, Captain Rex, and so basically the Separatists are now still under the order of Admiral Trench, who is now cyborged. Because, you know, if there's one thing that is scarier than a walking, talking spider, it's a walking, talking cyborg spider.
Oh, yeah.
This is a fact.
Yeah.
And so the Separatists have better strategies than the Republic, and it's clearly there's some sort of intel leak going on. Oh no, what's going on? Well, it appears that actually a lot of the strategies the Separatists are using are ones that have been devised by Rex and Echo, my favorite clone trooper. Like, sorry, rest of clone troopers, Echo's the best and you know it. And so they're like, maybe, just maybe, Echo might be alive. Who knows? Another question we have to ask is, does Obi-Wan know about Anakin and Padme?
Well, it definitely seems like he does, doesn't it, in this?
It's like Rex covers for Anakin when he goes into the barracks and has a quick chat over, you know, Star Wars Skype with Padme. And Obi-Wan later on, when he tries to get in the barracks, hints to Anakin that he might know what's going on. And let's say he does implicitly know that Anakin and Padme have a thing going on. Maybe he doesn't know the full extent of that thing.
No, I don't think he knows. Maybe not. And that kind of thing,
But let's say he knew that there was something going on. He is remarkably chill about it, considering the fact that in episode 2, he was just like, when he had an even small inkling that Anakin might have a thing for Padme, he was just like, you will be expelled from the Jedi Order! You will get smacked across the face, just like, death! No, don't do it, Anakin! And I was just like, oh, tell Padme I said hi. It's just like, wow, you are remarkably chill about this, considering the fact that this is supposed to go against everything you believe and something that you think will be very bad for Anakin. Like,
well, it feels weird
because
Yeah, I agree, and even in Revenge of the Sith, he is still very dismayed by the fact when he does find out that they had a relationship, for sure, and it comes out much more. But in the Clone Wars cartoon, it's hinted that Obi-Wan himself has almost got a relationship, or was not closed off to the idea of having a relationship with I can't even remember the name of the lady.
Satine, which was in
Satine.
fact which was actually copied from the previous canon. The Clone Wars is kind of bridging the gap between the old
Yeah.
and new canons. But
Hmm.
there was another. I think it was Siri Tachi was her name that
Yeah.
Obi-Wan had a very close relationship with, but ultimately they couldn't be together. And then she died, much like Satine, and that nearly brought him to the dark side. So it's just like, yeah, the relationship between him and Satine is cool, but it's not exactly original. But anyway,
No.
Obi-Wan gets it. Ladies love the beard. And so that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is he has no idea there's something going on between Anakin and Padme, in which case the lines are written in a very suggestive way. So either you have a problem with the writing, or you have a problem with the character's internal decision making, and neither of which is very good. It feels like they could have just written it out and it would have been all fine. But honestly, it's a nitpick. It really is. It doesn't really detract anything, because who cares about Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme? Because we've got to meet the Bad Batch, each sold separately.
Yes, and these are an interesting bunch. Clone Force 99, official title of the squad. But the only thing with it was they look cool, and it's like a cool idea when you're a kid. Like, oh, that'd be really cool. We had a stormtrooper that did this, or a clone trooper that did that. But it feels like it's been done before, and I don't know whether or not it's just that, like I
Clone
say,
Commando.
yeah, and like ages ago, obviously, when this was the original story leaked out, and then even in the comics recently, I don't know if you read the comics, there was an arc.
Which ones? There are millions of
There
them.
are
I
millions.
can't keep up.
In the main Star Wars title, there was an arc where they had a bunch of stormtroopers that actually had a very similar sort of, they had their own. There was a big one and a little one, and one with a big gun, and even one with a lightsaber. So
And one that's a party dude and likes pizza.
yeah. So it's just, so I sort of felt like this wasn't the most original idea to have. But they were quite interesting. What you had, like Crosshair and Wrecker, and you had the skinny tech one, and
And the main one has a bandana and a knife. It's
Yeah.
so 80s. It's so 80s and early 90s.
He is 80s. He could have been played by Stallone or something.
But it's still pretty interesting, and they've got unique interactions with each other and with Rex and the other clone troopers that come across, including Jesse. And so they go to this big separatist hideout place, basically fight their way through various droids, and the droids are still funny, still hilarious.
Yeah.
And they discover that Echo has been held captive by Wat Tambor, the leader of the Techno Union. By the way, guys, there's a Techno Union, just in case you weren't aware. Find out more about that, please. A Techno Union? What even is that? But anyway.
Well, they were mentioned in Attack of the Clones as the Techno Union. That's not a new concept.
I know it's not a new concept. I've heard the word before in Star Wars. I just still don't know what the fuck it is.
But that's the best things in Star Wars. When you don't know what they are, they're the things where they get excited. Generally, when you find out what these things are, you're disappointed. So it's better not to know.
That has been a pattern for me, you're right. And they discover Echo's body, and he's been hooked up into this machine, and he's all emaciated.
He's connected to the Matrix.
Gray. Oh, God, yeah. Why do my legs hurt? You never used them before, Echo.
Whoa!
Whoa! I know Ceresu. I don't know. And so, yeah, he's been used basically as a living computer by the Techno Union. They free him. And then it's the question of, now we're going to use him against the Separatists. And he's going to, use his cybernetic augments to hack into the Separatist and, be a force for the Republic again. But then it's a question of do we trust him? Is he actually going to be yeah, I think we can trust him. We've done the whole can we trust this clone trooper storyline more than once before. I think at this time they're going to make it so that Echo is a good guy, and he very much is. saves the day, and then it's just like, ooh, what are we going to do with Echo now? Oh, I guess he's going to join the Bad Batch, even though the only thing he really brings to the Bad Batch is his tech skills, which are already covered by the tech guy. So, like, what does he bring to the table?
Yeah. But he is a freak and an outcast now. His brain's gone, so let's just stick him with the rejects.
But here's the thing. Even though he is my favorite clone trooper, I kind of like the fact that he and the rest of Domino's squad, his squad, died. That they
Yeah.
all eventually died due to the Clone Wars. Him, Fives, Heavy, Cut Up, all of them were just picked off. Some more than once, but a lot of times just over the course of time. Because here's the thing. If there is one show that is appropriate to show to children to teach them about the horrors of war, it's Star Wars The Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It really shows about how they have fun episodes and fun times and fun characters, and the action is awesome, but sometimes they like to drive home the point that this is a bad situation. Bad things are happening, and people are suffering in a way that is very accessible to children. And I love that. I love that it doesn't really pull any punches while still being appropriate for young children.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the tragedy of Domino Squad. They were the squad that we got to really know and over a long course of time, and they all died. And now they brought one back, and okay, cool. And I'm not going to say they did nothing with the character. They did, but I feel it might have been better if he just stayed dead. Like, what if Rex had been forced to kill him? Like, what if he was like semi-alive but also like semi-dead, and it was impossible to get him out of the separatist machine, and so the only way to free him and to stop the separatists was to kill him? And it would have added a whole extra layer of depth and drama, especially for Rex. But they kind of took the semi-easy way out of just keeping him alive. Do you know who they do kill though? Trench.
Yeah, I do. I
And
think
Anakin kills him in kind of a dark way, which is awesome.
it was. I mean, that battle was wicked. That was really exciting. I really enjoyed the way he did that. And Anakin, you can see Anakin just getting a lot darker in these episodes. He's when he lets go and stops putting on a face. He definitely, the dark side is strong.
Oh, I can feel the hatred growing in you. And that's the thing. I think again, the Clone Wars did Anakin so right. His character wasn't annoying, whiny, and temper tantrumy. He was cool, suave, and in control, and also like so very capable, but also a little bit arrogant.
Yeah,
and you could see how his arrogance would prove to be his undoing. And as the series went on, he did have these moments of becoming darker and darker, but they were moments. They weren't like, oh, I did this one bad thing. Now I'm grim and broody all the time. No, it was flashes where you saw just the depths that he could potentially and sometimes actually sink to. And I think it really did it so very well. Compared to the movies,
about a TV show, isn't it? Though you've got the time to do these things, and you know, I know we had 3 films.
Yeah.
I mean, what they should never have done with the prequels was start with Anakin being so young. You know, we should have.
Yeah,
the prequels
he should have been 16 at the latest.
Yeah, definitely, and definitely,
the earliest, whatever.
The earliest, and show that gradual fall over the 3 films. That would have been a much more interesting, part of the Jedi Order, and him becoming disillusioned with it, and the Emperor really getting his teeth in.
Don't worry, Capers. One day I'm going to do a re-script on those movies as well. So I've been doing these my versions of the sequel trilogy, and I've done the first 2. I've yet to do the third one because, frankly, I'm scared stiff. Like, I don't see how, even with the changes I've made, I could possibly make these movies good. And I just kind of want to skip to the prequels because I know where I stand with the prequels. I know exactly what's wrong and exactly how to fix them. The sequels, I'm lost in the woods. But do you know who else is kind of lost and also going for a bit of a fall? Ahsoka, onto Arc 2.
Arc 2, yeah.
We pick up right after she leaves the Jedi Order after being semi-framed for an explosion in the Jedi Temple, and then the Jedi Order just completely handle it the wrong way. And again, another good aspect of Clone Wars, they show the mistakes the Jedi Order make, being too wrapped up in dogma and tradition. And one of the best Star Wars stories, I think, are the ones that show that people who adhere to dark side philosophy aren't always completely evil, and people who adhere to a light side philosophy aren't always completely good. Some of the best video games and books and graphic novels have been the ones that have done that, while
Yeah.
still, showing the good side of the light side and the bad side of the dark side.
Well, I
And
still think Ventress is one of the best characters ever created. I mean, again, her story very much was finished in the Dark Disciple book, which I don't know if you've read, but I really strongly recommend that.
There's so many.
But honestly, that book is amazing. It's by Claudia Gray. Really would recommend it. And like I say, if you're a fan of that character, it really finishes off her story and gives her a proper send off. But she's similar. She's the flip side of Ahsoka, basically. It's just good to see like the ambiguity between Maul and Ahsoka and people like that, where there is, like you say, because the Jedi, it's the fact that they're so stuck with tradition and being so black and white and stuck on this sort of train track of where they're going, that they're almost destined to fail because they can't divert from the course in some respect.
Yeah, and it's a very immediate, very realistic take on things. So showing how even if you have the best intention, if you get locked down in dogma and all that sort of stuff, it can be just as destructive. But that's a separate conversation. Let's start off with Arc 2. Ahsoka has left the Jedi Temple. Barriss Offee is now in prison, I guess, and will, depending on which canon you subscribe to, will be released later. Who knows?
Yeah.
But she's going along Coruscant on a speeder bike, just like, okay, what the fuck do I do now? I have no qualifying skills. I've been trained for nothing except for being a Jedi. I mean, I guess I could become a barista. I mean, they don't ask for much experience for that. Oh, a jet! And then she crashes into the lower levels of Coruscant. You mentioned Star Wars 1313 earlier.
Yeah.
She crashes onto level 1313. And it's like, oh, they mentioned it! Oh!
I know what they're talking about. Yeah.
There's a little fan mode, which is like, oh, I understood that reference. But she crashes on a little balcony sort of thing in Coruscant, where she befriends a mechanic named Trace Martez, who offers to help her work with Speeder. They get to know each other, talk about Trace's desire to be a pilot. And then and at first this seems really interesting, like seeing Ahsoka kind of like just being not lost literally, but like lost in terms of she doesn't know what she's going to do with her life now, and that's kind of interesting. And then the arc swiftly dissolves into being possibly one of the most annoying arcs in all of the Clone Wars. I'm including the episode with Jar Jar.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because it's one, it feels like filler, and it focuses too much on characters we don't care about, particularly when you've got X amount of episodes left to finish this story, and we're wasting it really finding out about Trace and Rafa, and it's just, it's really annoying.
We get 4 episodes with this arc, and it started. Let's talk about it. See, she meets 2 sisters, Trace, we mentioned before, and her sister Rafa, and these 2 are the most inconsistently written characters of such a short period of time I've ever seen in my life.
Agreed.
So Trace is sometimes an idealistic dreamer who wants to journey out beyond the stars, and sometimes she's a naive idiot who can't comprehend basic concepts. Rafa is sometimes a caring but, sometimes life-hardened sister who would do anything to protect her sister and to make sure that they can survive in this world. And sometimes she's an uncaring criminal who does whatever the fuck she wants and is completely callous to the point of absurdity. And it's just like, pick one! Either they're idiots and callous, or they're idealistic and pragmatist. Don't flip between the two. Oh god, it's so fucking annoying. And so we get a bunch of action scenes with like a droid, and then they have to go out and do like a drug run, and Ahsoka and Rafa have this extended argument about, the morals of selling spice and shit, and then Trace dumps the cargo in a fit of, I need to move the plot forward, slam. And then they go into another argument about whose fault it is that they ended up in this situation. And it's just like, I don't care, do something interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that they had to build in the fact that they hate the Jedi as well. So
I mean, that was kind of interesting.
It was very contrived, though, wasn't it? It was, just
Yeah.
another plot point to stop the reveal and a bit of drama in, and we're gonna
It,
end up when she has to reveal her powers. Again, we've seen this. We've seen this sort of story before.
if that was the focus, if it was about her integrating her into their normal lives, no great big, dealing with criminals and stuff, none of that, and it's just her hiding there, but also finding out how not just these two sisters, but how the vast majority of people on the lower levels of Coruscant feel about the Jedi and the Force, and how actually little they've impacted their lives in any meaningful or positive way, that could have been very interesting. But it's barely a passing mention. It's contrived, as you say. It feels very forced. It almost never gets brought up again. And the whole point of it is like, oh, you lied. Oh, it's the liar reveal. That hasn't been done in every single story ever.
Yeah.
And that I could all deal with. I can
It
all
would
deal with.
also help with explaining to the fact, like, why, like, Han in A New Hope doesn't seem to remember a Jedi ever being around, and he, and he was alive when they were there. So, demonstrating that the fact, as you very, quite aptly said, the Jedi didn't really affect most people's lives. Only if you were like involved in the high class and stuff. Most people day to day would not see them, and
And it's not really the Jedi's fault, because there's only like a couple of thousand of them at the start of the war, even less so by the end of the war. And so it does make sense. I just feel like they went into more detail about that instead of, okay, so they go with do this deal with like this criminal organization called the Pikes, and then they get captured by the Pikes, put in prison. They then escape the prison. They spend all of episode 7 escaping, trying to get out off the planet. And at the very end, they get recaptured, and I swear to God, they get put in the exact same cell they were at the beginning of the episode, and nothing is accomplished.
Well, I was watching, I was thinking, have I nodded off and it's gone on repeat or something like that? I just couldn't believe that we had a whole episode where you get back to the beginning and talk about reset. It's like mad.
And it's all done just so. It's all this whole arc, this whole latter half of the arc, is just in service of making sure that Ahsoka is spotted by a bunch of Mandalorians.
Yeah, and it's quite. There's so many different ways that they could have done this to join up the dots, and I think be more meaningful. I mean, I was really hoping to get more things that would then pay off for the future Ahsoka. When she goes off, after Order 66 and becomes Fulcrum in the end and stuff like that. I would have liked to have seen her meet people that could have helped inform that maybe we could pick up in a future series or something that would have had more meaning long term. But really, I think what's so frustrating is that this was just such a waste of 4 episodes. And, if they'd have done it in an episode or 2 episodes, I could have forgiven it. But 4 episodes on this story was just mental.
When you have 4 episodes that are filler and 1 episode that is essentially the filler for the filler, it's frustrating in the upside, but it's okay, because then we get Arc 3, which is easily the best thing the best story arc that has ever happened in Clone Wars. This shit is top tier caliber. This is some of the best Star Wars writing, best Star Wars episodes, best Star Wars story I have seen in a fucking long time, and I'm including in that Jedi Fallen Order and The Mandalorian. So you know I mean business.
Wow.
I'm not saying that I didn't like that stuff. I love those stories. I'm just saying this is fucking awesome. We start with Anakin and Obi-Wan finding out at some place, and then they get a call basically saying, hey, Darth Maul's on Mandalore and everything. I think we already knew that. Yeah. But guess who's calling? It's Ahsoka. Oh my God, it's like we just saw you, which we did. Like, if we hadn't seen Ahsoka at all in this season, the reveal of Ahsoka would have been much more impactful. But here's just like, we just saw him in the last episode, and they're building up really big. No, we just saw you. I binged this. Like, I just saw you like a few minutes ago. But anyway. But basically she says, hey, so any chance you could come and help us out? Well, we'd like to, but we just got news that General Grievous is attacking Coruscant. Ooh, the attack on Coruscant. So Anakin is just like, okay, you know what? I know what we'll do. Rex, good news. You got a promotion. You're now a commander. And I'll give you part of the 501st to go to Mandalore, break the siege, and stop Darth Maul. That okay? Well, it's not ideal, but, we'll take what we can get. Oh, by the way, all the clone troopers have painted their helmets orange with Ahsoka's markings in honor of her. Oh, the feels!
Yeah, that was cool, that moment. That was definitely cool. And again, why not? Why didn't they put that skin into Battlefront 2? That would have been sweet.
Oh, God!
Can you imagine the update with Ahsoka and that skin for the clones? How cool would that have been? Cool.
This is Joss Whedon levels of emotional manipulation. This is, God. Oh, no. And so they go to Mandalore, they attack, they get the, puppet Prime Minister Almec, they fight this Saxon guy.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka ends up underground trying to find Jesse, only to find Darth Maul. Bum, bum, bum. Played once again by Sam Witwer, who is one of the best additions to the Star Wars canon in many years. Like, okay, sorry, we're not going to do The Force Unleashed 3, but we'll make you Darth Maul. How about that? That's okay with me.
Well, I loved him in Force Unleashed. What I do find with his Maul is Maul's a little bit too British aristocrat for me. I much preferred, the way that Peter Senovich, I can't say his name.
No one can. I don't even think he can say his name.
Senovich. I don't know. Just particularly in Rebels, he was very aristocratic, and I didn't really like the way that they
the one line he had, and that's one of the big problems I had with the Phantom Menace is that he only gets one line. He doesn't really talk that much, but he's like, "At last, we shall reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last, we shall have revenge." And in here is just like, "Oh, hello, the apprentice." I'm exaggerating, but only slightly. But
very chatty Cathy in this.
Very chatty. Like, I mean, in fairness, he did go through like a trauma of like getting his legs cut off by the fucking guy from Trainspotting. So that's going to make anyone have a bit of a personality change.
And I guess that's why the voice is a bit higher as well.
Yeah, but. So Ahsoka faces off against Maul, and is just like, okay, you are not who I expected. Well, who did you expect? Hayden Christensen? What? And it's just like, I don't have time to talk about this, even though I am, as you say, a chatty Cathy. Bicey daisies. And Ahsoka is just like, okay, so hi, Obi-Wan, Skype call you. Listen, I just got to talk to Darth Maul, and apparently he's working against a Sidious guy. What's going on there? And it was just like, yes, we've been looking for the Sidious guy, you know that. We were going to get some more information off of him from Count Dooku, but Anakin kind of cut his head off when I wasn't looking. So, that's a non-starter. Okay, well, what are you going to do now? I'm going to go to Utapau to try and find General Grievous. And Anakin's doing some other stuff with the Chancellor. I don't know what's going on. You're on your own. And again, more fighting between the Mandalorians, the pro-Maul, and the Mandalorians that are anti-Maul. Ahsoka confronts Maul again. And basically says, okay, so the reason why I was looking for this Anakin guy was because this whole thing, everything they're doing here, is a trap for Anakin. Because you see this Darth Sidious guy, he's grooming this Anakin guy that I saw in a vision that I had off screen sometime.
Yeah.
To be his new apprentice. You see, I was once his apprentice, but I was cast aside. I thought Dooku was his new apprentice, but he had been cast aside as well. Clearly another pawn just like me. And you can really taste the bitterness in his. It's like a guy who can't get over his ex being with someone new. He's really not happy about it.
Yeah. I mean that's a great. I mean, it was great that they showed Maul put it all together, and he's actually the one that's worked out the whole plot. The fact that
the entire Jedi Order couldn't do.
Yeah, but obviously he had the advantage of knowing Sidious and
also the dark side is much stronger now. Like the Jedi specifically say in Attack of the Clones and the Revenge of the Sith, like saying the dark side is so strong now that our powers are slightly diminished. Tell no one. This is like our only jobs, guys. I can't go back to being a barista. I don't care if they take anyone. And so he basically says, I wanted to lure Anakin here so I could kill him so that Sidious's plans could never come to fruition. Ahsoka's like, well, I'm here now. What are you going to do? Well,
Yeah.
it's Star Wars, and it's pretty much an Act 3 type scenario here. There's a big battle going on outside, and things look super cinematic. Shall we fight? Yes, but let's not make it an animated fight. Let's make it a mocap fight.
Which is cool.
Oh, Colin. It looks so good.
I
It
know,
looks...
it's amazing. With Ray Park coming back to do the fight, it was just wicked.
He's got the moves still!
He has.
Like, 20 years later, he's still got the fucking moves. It's... Oh, God. It's so... It looks... Look, I looked at the behind-the-scenes stuff. That looked awesome. And you had Sam Witwer in the studio with them doing the voice at the same time, like real time. It was so collaborative. Every single kind of artist, from visual effects to stunt performer to choreographer to actor to director, everyone working together in such a great collaborative moment. It's really great. And then you look at it on the screen. And here's the thing with the Clone Wars fight scenes. They fit the animation in that they're kind of swift and striky. And I don't want to use the word janky, but janky in a good way, you know?
Yeah.
It's very, you know, staccato in terms of fighting. But then you've got this motion captured fight, and it's so fluid and seamless. It's like a dance almost, but it's also fast and rapid and energetic and frenzied and awesome and fucking awesome. Oh God, I'm erect.
I know. To be honest, it makes you just think, you know, these two characters, Maul and Ahsoka, are some of the best Jedi and Sith fighters we've ever seen, and it's just mad that, compare it to all the other battles, this is probably one of my favourites. It's just amazing.
It's the visual effects are amazing. The fight choreography is amazing. The fact that it takes place now in the story, the fact they have a dialogue and talk is amazing. And it ends like on a sort of like this catwalk, crosswalk thing over the city. Maul falls over, and then he's captured by the clone troopers, and he screams like, "No, let me die, let me die!" He's just like, "Oh God, this is so." Oh God, and it doesn't help that all these episodes, this last arc, is starting with like, there's no like opening narration. They start like with red title cards and darker music, and
You're just on edge the whole time, aren't you? And you're just waiting for Order 66 to go as well. That's what I found myself is, when are they going to do it? When are they going to do it? You know, are they going to drop it now? Are they going to drop it now? Because you can't quite tell where it is. You know, obviously, you know we're close to Order 66. It was just
But you know there's going to be a lot of kids watching who might not necessarily have seen episode 3 yet and might not know everything about Order 66. So there's still that element of mystery. So it's good no matter where you are in Star Wars knowledge. And then you don't have, thankfully, however, you don't have to wait long for Order 66, because in the next episode, the penultimate episode, the Siege of Mandalorian is over. Maul supporters have lost. Ahsoka and Rex have captured Maul, put him in a big box, put him on the ship, ready to take him to Coruscant. And basically, Ahsoka gets an update from Mace Windu and Yoda, basically saying, like, okay, so Obi-Wan has now found a Grievous on Utapau. The war is going to be over pretty goddamn soon. And everyone's like, yay, war's going to be over soon. Yeah. Oh, you poor fools. You poor fools. And, however, they're going to Coruscant. Everything seems fine. The war's nearly over. We got Maul. Mandalore is now free. Everything's great. What's that? Oh my God, I can hear the voice of Samuel L. Jackson in my head. What's going on? And then they use actual archive recordings of Ian McDiarmid, Hayden Christensen, and Samuel L. Jackson of Anakin's fall to the dark side. Ahsoka basically has a semi-vision in her head of Anakin's fall to the dark side. We don't see it. We just hear her hear it. And she's like, oh, what's going on? And then, execute Order 66. And shit breaks loose.
It does.
Rex, the clone
they're stuck on the ship as well, which is important to mention. They're stuck on this carrier, and there's nowhere to go. They are stuck.
Oh God! And one of these episodes also forgot to mention. At the beginning narration, we saw young Kanan from Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Blink and you'll miss him, but he's there. He's like, little Diddy Pretty Prince Jr. But anyway, his master's going to be dead soon. But and then Ahsoka is now trapped, as you say, on a ship with all these clone troopers, all of whom are trying to kill him. Now, I'm interested to get your perspective on something.
Mm.
In the old canon, there was no control chip inside the clone troopers' brains telling them to do Order 66.
No.
In the new version, there is. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's crazy, isn't it? I don't think you needed a chip to be built into this because it was, it's implied that the clones were less in control anyway. They were a little bit more susceptible to command and stuff.
They
and
said in the very first instance of us seeing them that they are programmed. They have inbuilt indoctrination into their psychological makeup that make them take orders, and that obviously that's not foolproof.
No.
But here's the great thing. In the original canon, there were some clones who defied Order 66. They said, no, I know this guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't care if his order supposedly betrayed the public. I'm not even sure if they did that. But a lot of clones did. And that's somewhat...
It takes responsibility out of the character. And I think the problem is, it's because particularly in this series, they've done such a good job of developing and characteristics of clones, that you could pretty much say that if Rex hadn't have had some kind of programming or something put in his head, he would never have turned, would he, on them? And I think that's what they sort of put themselves in a hole. They had to come up with something to make it more realistic because, like people like Rex, there would have been no danger for Rex. He wouldn't have turned.
I think the problem is this goes back to what I've thought for a while now, actually. And if I ever do a rescript of the prequel trilogy, you could count this on being in there. I think the idea of the clones fighting on the side of the Republic is inherently flawed in terms of as a way of getting rid of the Jedi. I'm not saying it doesn't work in the context of which they did it. The problem is when you have something like this that goes in greater detail and discover the clones as characters, that's when it starts to fall apart a little bit. I think like the clones should have been on the opposite side.
I think there should have been clones on both sides. When I first heard the term Clone Wars back on New Hope, I imagined it was two sets of clones, and that would have made much more sense. And they could have done that somehow. That would have made it more interesting.
I mean, there's lots of different ways you can do about it. I think maybe. I just think there's flaws with having. I mean, I think they did the best they could with a bad situation. I don't know. I think it's not a great idea, but the things they did with this bad idea turned out to make for really good stories. Yeah. And I think that's the best thing you could say about that. But it means that, now Ahsoka's got to fight her friends, including the guys who are still wearing the helmets made up to look like her. And it's just like, that's an extra layer of tragedy. But then she managed to get Rex inside a med bay, managed to get the chip out of him, and obviously she can't do that for everyone. But now it's like, so now it's Rex and Ahsoka against all the clones. But now there's an extra layer of tragedy on that as well, because now Rex has got to fight his brothers, who he cares about.
Yeah, and Ahsoka makes a big stance about not killing the troopers, but which in some way was difficult really to take on board, because ultimately they're all going to die. They're all going to die. So I don't know. Very difficult.
I don't know, but admittedly, her wanting to keep the clone troopers safe is belied slightly by her freeing Darth Maul, saying, "Okay, go and cause as much chaos as you can in order to give me time to escape." Can I have a lightsaber? No. Well, fuck you, I'm Darth Maul. I don't need a lightsaber. I'm awesome by myself. And this leads us into the final episode, them trying to escape from the cruiser. Maul destroys the hyperdrive. They drop out of hyperspace. They get into basically into the orbit of a moon, basically saying, ship's going to crash. Like, that's going to happen. So now we've got another reason to get off this fucking bucket. And Maul gets away in a shuttle. Ahsoka decides to stop him. They try and trick the clones by Rex saying, hey, so Ahsoka was a Jedi, but now she's not. She's not part of the Jedi Order. That means that she's an exception, right? And Jesse, another ARC trooper that we've got to know over the years, is like, no, that's not going to buy. And, there's also an order that any clones who disobey the order are also going to be shot. So you sure you want to do this? And it leads to this great scene with Rex desperately trying to find a way to save himself, Ahsoka, and the clones. And it ends with Ahsoka taking off his helmet, revealing that Rex has been crying. It's like a single tear rolling down to Tamura Morrison's cheek, and it's just like, oh god, it's so sad. It's so tragic. We always knew it was coming to this, but it really drives home the fact that even though there may be a hope somewhere down the line, at this point, this is bad. This is not going to end happily for anyone. They managed to escape the ship, but the clones all die, including Jesse. They go to the moon. They fix up their ship. They have little memorials for all the clones with the helmets.
Also, the sad bit when they open fire on all the droids before that happens is another particularly sad bit. All these droids that have rushed to save Ahsoka have just been getting wiped out by the clones.
3 astromech droids that have been assisting them, and she gave them nicknames as well, which makes it even worse. And then the clones sort of corner them. The droids hold up their little droid arm things in surrender. The clones shoot them anyway. It's off screen. I don't know why, because there's no blood or anything, but you hear the droids' electronic screams. It's just like, oh god, why did you make me care about these rust buckets, Dave Filoni, you emotional monster? Ahsoka on the moon. Ahsoka discards one of her lightsabers. They go away to appear in Star Wars Rebels later on, and we end with stormtroopers landing on the moon, Darth Vader arriving and picking up one of Ahsoka's lightsabers. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, the apprentice. Oh god. And it's such is this what being satisfied by something Star Wars related feels like? It's been a while, you know.
Yeah. It's a great ending, and like I say, this is what I wanted to see. This was what I wanted to know. What happened to Ahsoka? What happened to Rex? How did Order 66 go down? How did they escape? I would have liked to have seen a bit more of a flash forward, maybe to again Ahsoka when she was getting ready to be into because again connecting that to Rebels and to Resistance and just sort of saying where she is now and potentially the Mandalorian.
Because there's another thing that's hints of that, and I tend not to pay much attention to hints because I don't really know what to trust nowadays. One reveal or one announcement has been made that I am genuinely excited for is that Taika Waititi is going to be directing a new movie.
Yeah, that's gonna be amazing. So excited about that.
And it's going to be written by, I don't know who this writer is, but I know she's a woman, which is great because now my semi-joke, semi-criticism of these new movies that they're supposedly these really big feminist movies made by a big feminist, Kathleen Kennedy, despite not having any female directors, writers, or cinematographers, is somewhat weakened now, which I'm glad about. But all the same. Oh no, the Force is female. None of our directors are, but the Force is. Fuck off! I don't need a T-shirt. I need we need opportunities for lots of people behind the camera and in front of the camera. Just God, but that's another argument. So yeah, I am looking forward to that. I really hope this Taika Waititi movie is a IG-88 movie, and it's just him being IG-88, just killing the galaxy. I'd be fine with that. Just an hour and a half of him going around killing people.
It would be good. I would definitely settle for that. That would be wicked. But yeah, I was really happy with the end of this. I thought it was and just the animation of the whole last few episodes, and that was amazing.
The animation was brilliant. The writing was brilliant, and especially for the last arc. And that last arc was entirely directed by lots of different people, but it was written entirely by Dave Filoni. Yeah. And he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, and I'm worried that now Star Wars is just going to look to him to do everything in Star Wars from now on. And I don't think that's a good idea. But just get people like him, creative people with visions who understand these characters, can create new characters that fit into the world and explore all these different elements. The Clone Wars, what I love about it, it could have just been a bog standard episodic stuff that happens in the Clone Wars. Like, oh, here's a lightsaber battle. Oh, here's a clone battle. Oh, here's a slightly different kind of clone battle.
Mm.
And yeah, there's episodes like that, but it's so much more than that. They talk about, they go into great character development for established characters and new characters, different themes, different ideas, different philosophies. Hell, every episode starts with a little moralistic quote about the nature of war or friendship or the light side, the dark side. And it's so clever. It's so clever. And I don't want to say it's clever for a kid show, but the fact is, with some more and more exceptions these days, kid shows aren't that clever. But this show went out there to meet so that both adults and children could enjoy it. And even some of the earliest episodes, like first and second season, people mostly agree isn't that brilliant, but still pretty damn good.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think Clone Wars is the best out of the Star Wars cartoons they've made so far. I think it's...
But then again, let's look at its competition. Rebels, which is okay. Star Wars Droids, which... Is anyone born after 1991 seen? I haven't.
Well, I've seen it, but I definitely wouldn't recommend watching it. Or the Ewoks cartoon, that was rubbish.
It's the C-3PO and R2-D2 Variety Hour. Oh, R2, what mess have you gotten us into this time? I don't sound like Anthony Daniels. I don't care what people say. He sounds like this. R2-D2, where are you? And I sound like R2-D2, where are you? It's completely different.
Yeah. You stick in a few more swear words.
Oh, R2, you fucking arsehole. You complete and utter bastard, R2.
But did you watch Resistance? Because that was...
Oh, I watched one episode.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, I mean, I like the idea. I say I like the idea. The more I talk about the idea, the more I think it's kind of stupid. But, like, this could have been a good kids' show if it wasn't Star Wars.
Yeah.
If it was a sci-fi show about, like, this fighter in this intergalactic war who is now stationed on the space station and has to sort of moonlight as a racer for, like, a fighter pilot racer sort of thing, that kind of be kind of interesting. But it's Star Wars, and this is a pilot in the Resistance fighting against the First Order, and the most interesting thing you can have him do is be like a racer. I can see this working out for a couple of episodes, but then, like, what else is he going to do?
I mean,
and also,
setting it there was a big mistake. It really slowed it down and made it pretty rubbish.
The animation was okay for the kind of animation they used, but I didn't
like it at all.
I didn't really like. I mean, I think on a technical level, it's fine, but I didn't personally like it that much at all. And the characters are just kind of boring and uninteresting. And also, it doesn't start off great with like this one guy doing this one mildly impressive space battle, a small skirmish more than a battle. And Poe Dameron's like, "Oh my God, you are the chosen one. You are the only person who I can entrust this super secret space mission to." Really? There's no one. God, the Resistance really is like the rebellion, but crap, isn't it? And God. And so, I mean, if kids like it, fine. But let's be honest. I think a lot more people are gonna like this new Clone Wars season than they are Resistance. And I don't know. But it's okay because here's the thing. I've talked about this before, but here's the thing. As much as I don't like these new movies, as much as I don't like a lot of the stories in Star Wars, I know that just around the corner, there's going to be 10 stories that I'll absolutely love.
Exactly.
They might not be in movie form, but they're there. There's video games, there's books, there's graphic novels, there's tabletop role-playing games, there's all sorts. And so if you like the movies, fine. And if you don't like the movies, fine. I think there's a lot of pushback against the haters of some of these movies, but you know what? You're allowed to dislike them because there's other stuff there. It doesn't make you a hater. It just means you think for yourself. And the reverse is true if you like them. And I'm just glad there are people like Dave Filoni, like Jon Favreau, like all these other writers and artists and creators who work hard at Star Wars to create not just something that feels like Star Wars, but also their own stories, be they games or books or whatever. And it makes it feel like like we're taking our first steps into a much bigger world, larger world, whatever the line was. I don't care. I'm Alec Guinness. I'm drunk. I just and it makes it feel like a much more fleshed out world. Would it be nice if the really big stuff, like the movies, was better? Yeah, of course it was. But then you've got people like Taika Waititi who can do no wrong. And
Yeah.
they're going to be movies. And hopefully they'll turn out better. Like, there's always hope when there's Star Wars.
Yes. And there's always a new hope around the corner.
Indeed. Anything else you want to talk to, either about Clone Wars or Star Wars related? Anything you're excited for or anything like that?
Well, like I say, I think we're in a real great position. I think they're pulling together. Definitely the way that they pulled together the Mandalorian and the way they made that gives me a lot of good hope for the future in terms of the way that they might approach the storytelling. I think they've learned a lot of lessons.
really, really, really wish I could have seen the reaction of the designer / creator of the Porg's reaction to people's love for Baby Yoda. Just like, what the I made these puffin things as cute as I possibly can, and that's what you like? That's what you like? What's it take on people?
But yeah, there's a lot still to love about Star Wars, and at the moment, there's some really great things happening. The comics are really good at the moment. They've moved eras to set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, so they're telling some different stories there.
The best bit, one of the best bits. Yeah,
that's one of the most interesting eras. So.
That's an interesting. There's all sorts of ancillary comics. Like, is Dr. Aphra still going on?
Still going on, and they're even talking about making her a spin-off TV show and stuff. And
please do that. Kathleen Kennedy, you want a cool, badass female character that everyone can get behind? This is it. Dr. Aphra. Fuck Rose. Fuck Ray. Aphra all the way.
Yeah. So there's good stuff coming out, and they're making an audiobook based on the original series that Dr. Aphra came out, the Darth Vader storyline. So and that's going to be a full cast audiobook, so that should be pretty interesting.
Those are some of the best ones, and of course, let's not forget that the Kenobi series is still in development at some point, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, and Cassian Andor show, that there seems to be work going on that at the moment. So
the guy from is that the guy from Rogue One? Oh.
Yeah.
Played by the same guy, Gabriel Luna, whatever his name is.
Yeah, same guy, and Adam Tudyk's back in it as K2SO as well. So,
well, fuck then. I'm sold. I don't care who else is in it. If Alan Tudyk's showing up, I'm there. Like, yeah. I don't care what he does. I'm gonna show. Just like, I'm okay with this. I don't care if it's DC and I hate DC. Like, he seems to love it. Like, shit, I'm here. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. I'm at the point right now where I'm feeling a little emotionally vulnerable, so I'm just latching on to anything I love. Like, the dog in that house right now is like, are you going to leave me alone anytime soon? No, I need to be comforted. But anyway, thankfully, I was very much comforted by this Clone Wars final season. If you haven't seen it already, well, then we've just spoiled it for you, but who cares? Go see it anyway. It's awesome. Even if you do have to get Disney Plus, I don't care. On that note,
you can binge it in one day, so just get it for a day. Get
a free trial, 7 days. You can watch it 7 times. And on that note, I think we're going to end the show. Thank you very much, Colin, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been super fun.
And if you enjoy the show, Capers, please tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops! And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes, like the various Star Wars episodes we've done over the years. You can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, or at podcapers.com. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone, the red and blue 3D glasses, those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. Cue the music!